The first question, I guess, it's can you tell us a bit about your business?
Yes, of course. So, my little microphone. PAUME is skincare for your hands. That's what we say. Very simple. We're trying to talk about hands in a different way. We're trying to build a hand care category. I think typically hand care has been associated with, fragrance brands making a basic cream with a fragrance, or a body care brand making just like a hand cream as like, oh, ticking the box. But no one is really doing it in a very thoughtful, intentional way. So that is really what we're doing. And our hands are our most exposed body part other than our faces. So they take they're exposed to a lot of things. They take a beating. We use them all day long without even thinking about it. And after a while, the skin on our hands, which is also very sensitive, tends to show the signs of aging a lot faster than our face. We're not putting sunscreen on. We're not really caring for them properly. So at PAUME, we're really trying to raise awareness around the importance of a hand care routine and taking care of your hands, and to not only just to keep them happy and hydrated, but also to prevent those signs of aging that inevitably appear.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. I love that question. How did it all begin, and what sparks the idea?
Yes. So I had my daughter in 2019, so I became a mother for the first time. And it was through that experience that I became extra aware of hand hygiene and germs. And you bring a newborn home from the hospital and you just become a germaphobe automatically. And I was washing my hands a lot and using hand sanitizer a lot, looking for easy ways. I mean, that's the other thing. You become a parent and you're just looking for the easiest possible way to take care of things. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm doing a diaper change. I just want sanitizer because it's the middle of the night and I just want to go back to sleep. Or in my case, I had a daughter that, cried a lot as a baby. So it wasn't easy for me to just put her down on the floor and go wash my hands. And a lot of people, will say, it's like, just go wash your hands. But, it's funny when you're really in the thick of it, the simple tasks that seem so easy become very difficult. So I was using hand sanitizer a lot, and this was before the pandemic. And there really weren't a lot of products on the market that called me. I would say a lot of them smelled really bad. They were bad for my skin. They dried me out. Also, a lot of products I didn't really feel comfortable putting on my hands and then touching my baby with. They were packaged in really unappealing packaging. So my first really idea or spark was around the hand sanitizer and wanting to create a more elevated product for the category and make it beautiful and make it luxurious and make it smell good and make it good for our skin. And that was the initial concept, which then really evolved into hand care overall, which I referred to earlier. It's this, creating a real routine around taking care of our hands. And they do so much for us, and it's important that we take care of them. So really formulating thoughtful ingredients that incorporate real skincare ingredients into our products, and really thinking about the needs of hands. So started off with hand hygiene, which then evolved into more hand care, but that was the idea.
I love it. And on top of the quality, I love the packaging, the branding, and for me, aesthetic is a lot.
Yes.
It's a big part for a lot of people, and we don't necessarily realize that, or some brands don't, I guess, when they create their products. And I love PAUME's branding. So, what inspires you to keep going, even on tough days?
Mm-hmm. Yes, there are a lot of tough days, a lot of great days, but I think that's just what entrepreneurship is about, is just weathering the good days and the bad days and learning how to really enjoy the moments, but also not panic and not, wallow too much on the more tough days. What keeps me going, though, is I think our mission, creating products that people love, customer feedback, it's like being a performer, it's like nothing is better than an audience that really loves what you're doing and is appreciating all the work you're putting into it and your talent or your product that you've made. And I think for me, that really keeps me going. Just hearing from people who are like, I'm a teacher and since the pandemic, we've been sanitizing all day long and my hands have just been ripped to shreds, over the years. And now I have a product I can finally use that, isn't good for my skin. So I'm not getting eczema anymore. I'm not getting, really dry hands. Those little things. I mean, we're trying to just make people's days better and give them a little perk and also help them, with some of the more chronic things. We have people that come to us who have, chronic eczema on their hands, and to be able to give them products that help with that is really gratifying. And also just building a business and seeing it grow and feeling the momentum and it compounded with the feedback, it does keep you going, especially on those days where you're like, why am I doing this? So I think that's really what keeps me going is like the feedback, the customer feedback.
Yeah. It's a roller coaster, but it's part of it.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun.
Exactly.
As a woman business owner, what has your experience been like in Canada?
Well, I would first say, I mean, we have such an incredible community of female founders here. And people always think like founders, that word is often associated with people who make things, like in my case, making hand care products. But, female business owners such as yourself, like people who are anything entrepreneurial, whether they're, one of my best friends is an amazing interior designer. These are all entrepreneurs. And there's so many of them around the city and in this country who are building such incredible things. It's so funny because people are always like, oh, you're really a minority in the sense that, there aren't that many and, you got to stick together. And there's definitely that mentality. But in my world, I know way more female founders than I know male founders. So I'm like, really? There's a shortage of them? Like, I know so many and they're all doing such amazing things and they're so successful and so inspiring. And but that's my own little micro world, that in my context. But I would say in Canada, I think there's a lot of support for us. I mean, I think being a female founder comes with different challenges than men, especially around, family. And, I have 2 kids under the age of 6 and, I take on multiple roles and that's a challenge. And I think, a lot of us can relate to that. But also just in general, I feel like the community is really strong in this country and there's a lot of recognition and support for female founded businesses. And that's been great to see. So I'm pretty pleased with how things are going. Obviously, there are a lot of improvements that can be made, especially around capital investment and funding and access to debt and all these things that I know are definitely more challenging for women. And I've experienced that myself, but I do think we're breaking barriers and things are improving and we just have to keep fighting. Yeah.
It's not so bad. I've met so many female entrepreneurs and I'm amazed to see how the community comes together and girls are helping each other. I don't know. It's crazy to see how we help each other truly, share informations that are because it can be lonely to be an entrepreneur. So. Okay, a more general question. What does your community means to you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we have a really broad community, I would say. We make products for all different types of ages and stages of life. And I really, as much as we have, our archetypes and the people that we're kind of targeting when you come to marketing speak. But generally speaking, I would say our community is, filled with people of lots of ages and stages of life. We have our moms that are, really loyal. And what I love about them is that they're so quick to spread the word about a product that they love. The word of mouth in that community and that stage of life, that is kind of lonely, and you really do latch on to your community during that phase as a new mom. I remember the same with me, and I still do. So they are wonderful because they love to tell their friends about great products, and they have a real kind of cult. They build that cult status, which I love. And then our other customers as well that are maybe not in the motherhood stage, but really in need of products like ours, also very engaged. The people that we do the One of a Kind show every year in Toronto, which is this really big. Yes. Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah. And I always love working that show because I get to really talk to our community, because oftentimes, I'm behind a computer and, I'm not able to really see people face to face. So it's so rewarding to talk to them. And, they bring their friends over and they're like, I've been using your product for years. Here's my friend. I've just told her she needs to buy, this sort of viral, word of mouth community support that's so gratifying. And I love that about our community. They're very passionate about hand care. It's they really, a lot of passion. Which is great.
That's funny. It's so true. I feel like it could be very lonely to be an entrepreneur and to build a brand. And I can imagine, because we have a store, so we have the retail aspect of it where we meet people. But I imagine being behind the computer, and I remember when we started during COVID, same, like we were just packing online orders. There's something missing. It's very rewarding to meet people and hear what they love about your brand, not just digitally, but in person. And
totally. It's a different experience for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
This one is a big one. What advice would you give to someone dreaming of starting something of their own? Or what advice you would give to yourself when you started?
Like,
I have tons.
Well, I think first and foremost, I think you're speaking about founder culture and I think being a founder, especially these days, has been very glamorized. There's a lot of glamorization that happens in the media with the whole girl boss era, and there's certain people out there that have really created names for themselves, like the Emily Weisses of the world and all of that. But I will say that it's really not glamorous at all. I mean, obviously there are moments, like this, where I get to sit down and talk to cool people and share my story, but a lot of it is not, and it requires a really a strong resiliency that is also learned. I've become a lot more resilient over the years. I was not that way in the beginning, so it's definitely something that's learned. But I also did come out of an experience where I got to shadow an entrepreneur for many years. I was kind of the first employee at a brand called NYX, the women's intimates brand, and I got to shadow their founder, Joanna, and really see from start to finish how a brand was launched, how to make it successful. And I also got to witness a lot of the ups and downs and the tribulations associated with that. So I came in here pretty eyes wide open doing this. Whereas I do meet a lot of founders who are like, wow, I just jumped in the deep end. It was had no idea what was in store for me. And, I think, but my advice would be, really think about yourself and what you are capable of, in the sense that what is your lifestyle? What do you have? A big safety net? Do you have children? There's certain ages that are a lot easier to do this than others. I did it at the worst time, launching when you have, a 1-year-old with another one coming. It's the worst time to launch a business. But, I did it and I made it through. But, I would say really think about, are you willing to not pay yourself for a long time? Are you willing to really sacrifice a lot? Because I will tell you, there are a lot of great jobs out there that aren't doing this, that will bring you joy and the glory that you seek, if so. But I just think you really have to be mindful of what your situation is, and also what you're willing to withstand, because it does take a while. We hear about all those positive stories, we hear about all the success stories, but with those success stories, there's hundreds and hundreds of stories that are not that way. And I think now, especially in this time where market forces are so out of our control and chaotic and unpredictable, I would say this time right now is an unprecedented time. And I think I would think if I were someone considering launching a business now at this moment, I would think really long and hard. I'm not sure I would do it. I have the disadvantage, I guess, of having done it a few years ago. So now I have no choice but to keep going. Yeah. But I would say right now, not to be negative, I love this question, because I think a lot of people love to say stick true to your heart and you can do it and rah. And as much as that's, I'm amazed at what I'm capable of doing that I never thought I was. And we're all capable of doing this. We can do it. It's just really about your tolerance for the intensity, and also, again, these external forces that are so crazy right now. And so I would just say really think long and hard, and then once you're in it, just perseverance, sticking to your true idea. Don't let other people sway you too far from your core mission and your core idea, and staying true to yourself and the idea, and that'll help build longevity, I think.
Is there a moment you will never forget? A proud one, funny one, or even a messy one?
That's a great question. I've had so many messy moments I'll never forget. A proud moment, I would say this year, particularly in the first 2 months of the year. I feel we came out of last year, with so much momentum, and we were kind of prepared for a bit of a reset in the first quarter of the year, it's like, okay, we're growing a lot, everything's well, let's just like take a breath. And then all of a sudden these opportunities came up very quickly that were like, I got invited by a retailer to come and present down in the US, like a massive retailer, come in person, come present to us. And those moments were really like a pinch me moments. It was like, whoa, like when I started this business, I could never have imagined, flying down to Seattle or flying and getting in front of a buying team at a retailer that I've loved my entire life and, pitch my brand. And those are really amazing moments that yeah, exactly. Well, and they're also the moments that like often, again, as entrepreneurs, we kind of forget in the moment to celebrate. Like it's a lot of just like, okay, now I got to get on a plane and book my flight and samples. And you're just like in it. And then afterwards you're like, whew, I made it through it. But you're not like, whoa, it's often to take that moment, take stock of like what's actually happening to you. And like, this is something to be celebrated, whether the outcome is what you wanted or not. But I think those were some really exciting moments, and then of course, like memorable moments, like we always say, like not that I'll, it's like, write it down for the book. Like I remember Joanne always used to say, that's like, write that down for the book, is like, these are the things that like, as much as you want to forget them forever, you also want to like, just keep it down, because it's funny to reflect on like the things that you've done or the things that went wrong. And in our case, we've just had, launching a brand during the pandemic was just insane, because like everything changed every day. Supply chain was upside down. We had packaging compliance issues. Suddenly, like our packaging was uncompliant, so we had to reorder everything, and just like constantly taking one step forward, 1,000 steps backwards. And those are those things I try to forget, but also I like keep stock of, because I'm like, it could be worse, could have been that. And that's really the reason for holding on to some of those. But no, I would just say like I'm really trying consciously as an entrepreneur this year in particular, because we've just been in a whirlwind, to like take stock of the really good moments. It's really important for your mental health, but also to like remind you when things aren't going well, like what you have accomplished, and be like, okay. Though I think like our mindset, what makes entrepreneurs or successful entrepreneurs really good is obviously they celebrate the goods, but then they also like, you keep going, set the next goal. Like you can't just be like, well, that was great. Okay, well, whatever happens now, what happens? It's like, you're obviously going to be like, okay, what's next? And that is the mentality that you need to be successful at this job. But I also think it's very important to take stock of those moments and celebrate, like even in a small way, and like take a breath and be like, oh, this is really cool.
So that is a good next question. How do you take care of yourself while running a business?
Yes. I think because I have children, I'm forced, in a good way, I'm forced to really take care of myself and make sure that I have a bit of balance, because I cannot be a good parent and be a business owner if I don't take those moments for myself. So I feel like I've been pretty good at doing things like, I really try to take vacation time. Like I'm not trying to like do anything at the expense of my family or my mental health. Like I always want to be like more or less happy, with what I'm doing, and make sure I fill my cup. And it could be small things like making sure I have, Friday for a couple, I get a massage on Friday or whatever, taking time for like myself to do things. Or it could be as big as, I actually went on I was pretty burnt out last year, and I went on a solo 3-day trip myself, and just that was like so restorative for me. I also I kind of relocate with my family in August out to the East Coast, where I kind of work from there. It's a bit chaotic, but I do those things to make sure that I can then be a good parent and be a good boss and be a good entrepreneur. And I think it's so important, this do or die, go mentality is not conducive to success. It's just you're just gonna burn out. So I've really learned to make sure that I prioritize my health and happiness as well, because then what's the point? Really, what is the point if you're miserable? And I think also that mentality trickles down to your team. And you also don't want to have a team that feels, if you're setting the example of like, well, I work 24 hours and I never take a moment for myself, that's not going to be a good example for them too. I think I'm trying anyway to, it's a really tough job working at a startup, and I appreciate that with my team, and there's big expectations of them, but I also really try to make sure that if they come to me and they say I'm going to take Friday off because I need a break, I'm not going to be like, I'm going to encourage that. So yeah, it kind of goes both ways there.
It's a learning process, even for the boss. Okay, and last question. What are you most excited about right now?
Oh, so many things. No, yeah, my next vacation. No, well, as far as the business is concerned, we have a couple of major things happening this fall. I spoke to earlier some of these retail partnerships where we're finally opening our first Nordstrom store. We've been selling online, and we're now getting our first store in New York with the line. And then we're also doing a holiday program with them across all their stores, which is really exciting. So moving from .com retail to physical retail, which is a huge step for any brand. And that's really exciting. Obviously, there's the independent stores, which are they're a part of your community, and you nurture them, and it's what's local living, where they're not easier to manage, I would say, but they're definitely more that's a real intimate partnership. Whereas when you get into larger retail, especially in the US, it's a whole other ball game of work and and effort. So we really want to be successful. So that's really exciting. And then we have another major retailer, which I can't say the name of, but we're launching with them this fall as well. So big plans for the fall. And those are probably the two things I'm most looking forward to. And we have a couple new product formats and things like that coming down the pipe. So excited about that too.
Amazing. Well, we can't wait to see it all.